What if I told you the richest person on your street probably does not look rich at all? No fancy car, no designer clothes, no big mansion, just a normal house, a used car in the driveway, and a net worth that would make your jaw drop. This is not a theory. This is what two researchers discovered after spending decades studying real American millionaires, and what they found completely destroyed everything we think we know about wealth. Intro and promise. The book is called The Millionaire Next Door by Thomas Stanley and William Danko. These two guys did something nobody had done before. They actually sat down with real millionaires, not celebrities, not lottery winners, real, self-made, quietly wealthy people. And what they uncovered is shocking. Because the millionaires they found were not living the way we imagine rich people live. In the next 30 minutes, you are going to learn exactly how real wealth is built. You are going to see why your high salary might actually be keeping you broke. You are going to understand the simple habits that separate people who look rich from people who actually are rich. And later in this video, I will reveal the one insight from this book that changes how you see money forever. This is not theory. This is research. This is data. And this is going to hit different. Let us get into it. Lesson 1. Stop looking rich, start being rich. Here's a question. If you saw a man wearing an old t-shirt, driving a 10-year-old Ford truck, and eating lunch at a regular diner, would you think he was a millionaire? Probably not. But Thomas Stanley found that this is exactly what most millionaires look like. He called them the millionaire next door. Ordinary on the outside, extraordinarily wealthy on the inside. Here is what nobody tells you about wealth. Looking wealthy and being wealthy are completely opposite things. Most people spend money to look rich. Real millionaires spend money to become rich. Think about your own neighborhood for a second. The guy with the brand new luxury car and the big house might be drowning in debt, and the quiet guy 2 doors down with a modest home might have $2 million in the bank. Stanley found this pattern over and over again. There was a neighborhood study where he looked at zip codes with high income. He expected to find lots of millionaires there. And he did find people with high incomes, but their net worth was surprisingly low because they spent almost everything they earned on lifestyle. Then he looked at more modest neighborhoods, and there he found people with lower incomes but significantly higher net worth because they saved, invested, and lived below their means. This is the first and most important idea in the entire book. Wealth is what you do not see. Your actionable takeaway right now is this. Write down what you spend each month on things that make you look successful. Clothes, cars, restaurants, gadgets. Now look at that number honestly, because that number might be the exact reason your wealth is not growing. Real wealth is built in silence. And that brings us to a pattern that explains exactly how these ordinary-looking millionaires actually got there. Lesson 2. Your lifestyle is a wealth trap. Most people think the key to getting rich is earning more money. Get a raise. Get a promotion. Get a better job. But actually, earning more is often what kills wealth the fastest. Here is why. Stanley introduced a concept he called the prodigious accumulator of wealth, or PAW. And the opposite of that is the underaccumulator of wealth, UAW. Most people think high earners are wealthy, but Stanley found that doctors, lawyers, and executives were often UAWs. Underaccumulators. People who earn a lot but keep very little. Why? Because every time income goes up, lifestyle goes up faster. You get a raise. You move to a nicer apartment. You buy a better car. You eat at better restaurants. Your expenses quietly expand to swallow every extra dollar you earn. Economists call this lifestyle inflation. Stanley called it the biggest enemy of wealth. Here is a real example from the book. Stanley compared 2 men. One was a doctor earning $200,000 a year. The other was an air conditioning contractor earning $80,000 a year. The doctor had a bigger house, newer cars, private school for his kids, expensive vacations. The contractor lived in a modest house, drove a used pickup, and invested aggressively. Guess who had the higher net worth after 20 years? The contractor. By a massive margin. The doctor looked richer. The contractor was richer. This changes everything about how you think about your paycheck. Most people get this wrong. They think income equals wealth. It does not. Wealth equals what you keep, not what you earn. Your actionable takeaway is this. Every time your income goes up, resist the urge to upgrade your life immediately. Instead, direct at least 50% of any raise into savings or investments before you touch it. Let your lifestyle grow slowly. Let your wealth grow fast. But here is the thing. Saving money sounds simple. So why do so few people actually do it? That is because there is a deeper system at work, and it starts with something most people completely overlook. Lesson 3. The budget nobody taught you. Let me tell you about a woman named Linda. Linda is 38 years old. She has a good job in marketing. She earns $75,000 a year. She drives a nice car. She takes 2 vacations a year. She buys quality clothes. And every single month, she wonders where all her money went. She is not irresponsible. She is not buying crazy things. She just has no system. Sound familiar? Linda is the person Thomas Stanley found in millions of American households. Someone whose income is decent, but whose wealth is nearly zero. And the reason is brutally simple. She has no budget and no plan. Stanley found that the majority of millionaires in his study shared one habit that almost no one else practiced. They created a detailed household budget, and they stuck to it every single month, not a rough estimate in their heads. A real, written, tracked budget. They knew exactly how much they spent on food, on utilities, on transportation, on entertainment, on everything. This might sound boring, and that is exactly why most people never do it. Here is what nobody tells you about budgeting. It is not about restriction. It is about control. When you know where every dollar goes, you are in the driver's seat. When you do not know, your money drives you. The millionaires in Stanley's research were not spending less because they were miserable. They were spending intentionally because they had goals. Linda eventually started tracking her spending, and in the first month, she discovered something uncomfortable. She was spending $400 a month on things she could not even remember buying. Random subscriptions, impulse purchases, small daily habits that added up to a small fortune by year end. She redirected that money. Within 2 years, she had a real emergency fund for the first time in her life. Your actionable takeaway is this. Before this week ends, sit down and track every single dollar you spent last month. Use your bank app. Use a spreadsheet. Use a notebook. It does not matter. Just see the truth. Because you cannot fix what you cannot see. The budget is the foundation. But what you build on top of that foundation is what really separates the wealthy from everyone else. And this next lesson gets to the heart of it. Lesson 4. Time is your biggest investment. Here is a simple question. Would you rather have $1 million right now, or $1 that doubles every day for 30 days? Most people, if they have never heard this before, choose the million. But $1 doubling every day for 30 days becomes over $500 million. That is compound interest. And the millionaires Stanley studied understood this at a bone-deep level. Here is what most people do with money. They earn it. They spend it. They save a little. Maybe they put some in a savings account, earning almost nothing. Here is what wealthy people do. They earn it. They invest it immediately. They leave it alone. They let time do the heavy lifting. Stanley found that the average millionaire in his study had been consistently investing for decades. Not brilliantly, not in exotic stocks, not in risky schemes, just consistently. Over time, one of the men he profiled started investing $200 a month at age 25. Not a massive amount, just $200. By the time he was 60, he had over $1.2 million. He never got a huge raise. He never hit a jackpot. He just started early and stayed consistent. The secret is not the amount you invest. The secret is how long your money has to grow. Here is what nobody tells you. Every year you wait to start investing costs you far more than the money you would have put in. Because you are not just losing the investment. You are losing all the growth that investment would have earned over time. Most people get this wrong by waiting until they feel financially ready. But that moment rarely comes. Because lifestyle always seems to cost just a little more than you earn. Your actionable takeaway right now is this. If you are not investing anything, start with whatever you can. Even $20 a month, the amount matters less than the habit. Open an investment account this week. Put something in it. And commit to never touching it. Because here is the thing. The people who retire wealthy are not smarter than you. They are not luckier than you. They just started one thing earlier than everyone else. And in the second half of this video, you are going to find out exactly what that one thing is, plus the specific money habits that make it all come together in a way that is completely within your reach starting today. Lesson 5. The car you drive is telling on you. Stanley asked millionaires a simple question. What kind of car do you drive? The answers shocked him. He expected to hear Ferrari, Porsche, Mercedes, BMW. Instead, he heard Toyota, Ford, Honda, Chevrolet. In fact, the most common car owned by American millionaires in his study was not a luxury vehicle at all. It was a Ford F-150 pickup truck. Let that sink in for a second. The people with the highest net worth were driving the most ordinary cars on the road. And here is the part that really gets you. Most of them bought their cars used. And most of them kept those cars for years. Some for over a decade. Meanwhile, what do most people do the moment they get a raise or feel financially stable? They go buy a new car. Or they lease something that makes them look successful. Here's what nobody tells you about cars. A new car loses roughly 20% of its value the moment you drive it off the lot. In the first year alone, it can lose 30%. So you are not just spending money on a car. You are paying a premium to own something that is actively losing value every single day you drive it. The millionaires Stanley studied understood something most people never learn. A car is not an asset. It is an expense. And the less you spend on depreciating expenses, the more money you have for appreciating assets. Think about it this way. If you buy a new car for $40,000 instead of a reliable used car for $15,000, that $25,000 difference invested in the market could grow to over $100,000 in 20 years. You are not just buying a car. You are trading your future wealth for the feeling of looking successful today. This changes everything about how you see every major purchase. Most people get this wrong by treating spending as a reward for earning. Real wealth builders treat every dollar as a soldier that can work for them forever. Your actionable takeaway is this. Before your next major purchase, ask yourself one question. Is this thing going to grow in value or shrink in value over time? If it shrinks, think twice. If you still need it, buy it used, buy it smart, and buy less than you can afford. Now we have talked about what wealthy people spend on. But there is an equally important piece of this puzzle, and it is about who wealthy people spend their time around. Lesson 6. Your circle is your financial destiny. Here is a pattern Stanley noticed that nobody really talks about. Most of the millionaires he studied did not grow up wealthy. They were not born into rich families. They did not have trust funds. They did not get a head start. But almost all of them had one thing in common. They were surrounded by people who took money seriously, not people who flashed money. People who respected it, saved it, invested it, talked about it like it mattered. Now think about your own social circle for a moment. When your friends get together, what do you talk about? What do you do? Where do you go? Because here is the uncomfortable truth. If everyone around you is spending freely, eating out every weekend, upgrading their phones every year, and living paycheck to paycheck, that becomes your normal, and you will unconsciously match it. Because humans are wired to fit in. Social pressure is one of the most powerful forces in personal finance, and almost nobody talks about it. Stanley found a specific pattern he called social pressure spending. People would take on financial behaviors not because they wanted to, but because their environment made it the default. The couple moves to a wealthy neighborhood to be near good schools. Suddenly, they feel pressured to match the cars, the clothes, the vacations of their neighbors. Their spending spikes. Their savings collapse. They do not even realize it is happening. Here is what nobody tells you. You do not need to cut off your friends. You do not need to become antisocial. But you do need to be intentional about who you are learning from. Start spending time, even just online, with people who talk about investing, building businesses, creating passive income. Let that become your normal conversation. Let that reshape what feels right to you. The secret is that your environment shapes your financial behavior more than your willpower ever will. Your actionable takeaway is this. Find one community, a podcast, a book club, an online forum, where people talk about building wealth seriously. Spend 30 minutes a week there. Let those conversations start replacing the noise that is quietly keeping you broke. But here's where it gets really interesting. Because all of these habits we have been talking about, they are only possible if you have mastered something that most high earners have completely failed to build. Lesson 7. Economic outpatient care will drain you dry. This lesson might be the most emotionally charged one in the entire book. Stanley gave it a name. He called it economic outpatient care. And it is something that is quietly destroying the financial futures of millions of families right now. Here is what it means. Wealthy parents trying to help their adult children Give them money, not loans. Gifts, regular financial support. Paying off credit cards, covering rent, buying cars, funding vacations. It sounds loving. It sounds generous. And it completely backfires. Stanley found that adult children who regularly received financial help from their parents had significantly lower net worth than those who did not. Read that again. The ones who got more money ended up with less wealth. Why? Because receiving regular financial support destroys the urgency to earn, save, and build. When someone always catches you, you never learn to balance. He studied two brothers. Both grew up in the same house, same education, similar careers. One brother received regular financial help from their parents throughout his 30s. His parents paid for part of his mortgage. They covered his kid's private school. They gave him cash gifts every Christmas that were honestly more like bailouts. The other brother received nothing after college. He had to figure it out. He made mistakes. He learned from them. He built systems because he had to. By their mid-40s, the brother who received no help had 3 times the net worth of the brother who had been financially supported for years. This changes everything about how we think about helping the people we love. Here is what nobody tells you. Real financial support is teaching someone to manage money, not managing their expenses for them. Giving someone money without giving them financial skills is like giving someone fish every day instead of teaching them to fish. Your actionable takeaway is this. If you have children, teenagers, or young adults in your life, start having honest money conversations with them now. Teach them to budget. Let them experience the consequence of small financial mistakes while the stakes are still low. That is the real inheritance. And if you are someone who has been relying on financial help, start building your own systems today. 1 budget, 1 savings habit, 1 investment, no matter how small. Because financial independence is not just about money. It is about confidence. And nobody can give you that. Now we have reached the piece of this book that ties everything together. This is the insight Stanley saved for last. And it is the one that changes everything. Lesson 8. The real definition of wealth will set you free. Let me ask you something. How do you define wealth? Most people say a certain number. $1 million. 10 million. A big house paid off. Enough to never work again. Thomas Stanley had a different answer, and it is far more useful than any number. He defined wealth as the number of months you can survive without working, not your salary, not your job title, not your car or your house or your clothes, just this. If you stopped earning money today, how long could you maintain your current lifestyle? 1 month? 3 months? A year? A decade? That number is your real wealth. And for most people, that number is terrifyingly small. Stanley found that the average high-income earner in America could survive less than 2 months without their paycheck because their lifestyle was built entirely on their income. Remove the income, and the whole thing collapses. But the millionaires next door? Many of them could go 10, 15, even 20 years without working because they had built assets, not just income. Here is the difference that matters most. Income is a faucet. Assets are a reservoir. If someone turns off your faucet, income stops. But if you have built a reservoir, you have stored water for years. The wealthy people Stanley studied were obsessed with building the reservoir. Every dollar saved, every investment made, every unnecessary expense avoided was another drop in that reservoir. And here is what nobody tells you. You do not need a huge income to build a big reservoir. You need a consistent habit of putting more in than you take out. Every single month, without exception. The secret is not some brilliant investment strategy. The secret is not timing the market or finding the next big stock. The secret is simple, boring consistency. Most people get this wrong because they are waiting for the big break, the big raise, the perfect investment opportunity, the right moment to start. But the millionaires next door never waited for the perfect moment. They just started, and then they kept going for years, for decades. One woman Stanley profiled started cleaning houses at 22 years old. She built her own small cleaning company over 15 years. She drove the same car for 12 years. She lived in the same modest home for 25 years. She never earned a flashy income. At 60, she had a net worth of $1.8 million. She was not lucky. She was not brilliant. She was just relentlessly consistent. And she understood something most people never do. Wealth is not what you earn. Wealth is what you keep what you grow, and how long it can sustain you without you having to do anything at all. That is freedom. Real, quiet, powerful financial freedom. And now let us bring everything together. The Millionaire Next Door is one of those rare books that punches you right in the assumptions. We live in a world built to make you look rich. The ads, the social media, the cars, the clothes, the pressure to upgrade everything the moment you can afford it. But the data tells a completely different story. The people who actually become wealthy are the ones who ignore all of that noise. They live below their means. They invest early and consistently. They buy used cars and keep them for a decade. They budget carefully every single month. They avoid lifestyle inflation, no matter how much their income grows. They protect their net worth like it is the most important number in their life, because it is. Here is your real takeaway from this entire video. Start measuring your wealth differently starting today. Not by what you earn, not by what you own, not by what you look like. Measure it by how many months you can survive without a paycheck. That is your real score. And every good financial decision you make from this moment on adds time to that number. One more budget category reviewed. One more unnecessary subscription canceled. One more dollar invested instead of spent. All of it adds up. All of it matters. All of it moves that number in the right direction. The Millionaire Next Door is not a myth. They are real. They are quiet. They are consistent. And there is absolutely nothing stopping you from becoming one of them. Start today. Start small. Start now, because the best time to build real wealth was 20 years ago. And the second best time is right now.